So we weren't streaming the whole time?
It had said we were, but initially, but refresh it. There we go. Alrighty, so now we appear to be live and online. And puck is loose in front again, and now Portland State gets to it to clear. Shot from Michael Luke, deflected in and towards goal, and diving to that one was Pat Taylor. So if you missed it before, we will let you know we are very short-staffed everywhere tonight. No Dylan Lee in the broadcast booth running the laptop. So if things don't look as crisp as they normally do, that's a little bit of why. Carissa also up here normally to help us, has to go down and work the scoreboard tonight, and they're keeping penalty time on the ice. That one is deflected again and in the corner. Ducks trail 2-0. They gave up a couple of early goals on Ben Green in his first night in goal. Portland State trying to really run on this. You see 13:04 now, the official time left on the clock. Jake Yale tries to flip that one through. Seth Starr trying to go get it. Starr out of Kodiak, Alaska. And that puck disappears at some feet and will go for a whistle. And another one gets into the equipment. So, specifics that need to change for Oregon, Colin.
Well, both those goals came on just short possessions for Portland State. The Ducks seem to be in control of the game, but judging by how the game went last night, this 2-0 score definitely won't hang for too long. I feel that the Ducks are putting on a lot of shots. Eventually, they'll start to fall in.
And that one's sticked away. Not sure that it was going on goal, but good job to get in front of it. Not just the same as Jake Yale gets to that one first. Now tried to throw it up ice toward Trevor Schott. It was interrupted by a couple of Portland State players, and now the puck disappears along the near side boards in front of the blue line. Finally comes out and away. The Ducks can't get to it, though. Zach Foss wearing the number 29 jersey tonight.
Starting to throw me off. Haven't seen 29 the whole season.
And Trevor Schott throws that one towards net. Stick saved away. Intercepted by the Ducks. They throw it towards goal, but up and over. And Schott tries to get it back to Darren Toller, who takes a hit. And now here come the Vikings. Toller giving chase and does just enough to knock that play off, and in fact, a pretty sizable hit thrown there by Darren. Jake Yale moving through the zone, but just too many people there and was knocked into. Vikings through the zone. Tanner Ward with it, and Green gave up the rebound, but no harm, no foul, at least in the short term. Ooh, and that could have been dangerous. Was there anyone in front? Chris Campbell got tangled up trying to get it and then gives a shove. Now thrown again on goal. And a bit wide by Portland State. Big hit thrown there in the corner. It does come out of the zone, so Portland State has to regroup. Jesse Leonard lost a stick.
Never, ever happy as a player when you lose when your stick breaks like that.
Never happy as a player's parent either when you lose a stick like that.
Oh, yeah.
Although these boys are, some of them, probably most of them, paying for their own equipment at this point in their adult lives. And that's a lot of money. The ice time, a lot of money. These guys really do have to commit a lot to be able to play for this team. We're just lucky to bring the broadcasts to you. Ducks trying to clear it out. Chopping in that one was Chris Campbell, but couldn't get to it, and it's loose in front. Dangerous, and going for the wraparound does Portland State. Looked like they might have had it, but didn't find its way into the back of the net. Oregon's really on the back foot a little bit tonight.
It's the second wraparound that Ben Green just looks a little slow on. I think Portland State's starting to pick up on that. Portland
State wants a trip. They won't get it. Here's Starr with it again. Seth Starr. A little bit sloppy. Michael Luke couldn't get to it, and now Portland State takes over. Definitely not a numerical advantage for them, though, and a penalty is coming up on the play.
Yeah, Taryn's going to get called for a hook here.
Taryn Donnelly, the guilty party. Hooking indeed the call with 9:23 left.
It could have gone either way. I saw the stick was there, but he wasn't really tugging on it, and that's what constitutes a hook, but hashtag Pack 8 refs.
Yeah, and you get that stick up into the midsection, and you're going to get the call against you 9 times out of 10, whether or not there's the tug. But who are we to say? Shot there directly towards Green and directly into his equipment.
A little slow here on the drop. I'm curious as to why the ref's holding it. Okay.
Again, so 7:08. Donnelly will be out at 7:08. And it's on him and Ann and Earl down there in each of the respective penalty boxes to keep an eye on Nate.
Earl is in the early Christmas spirit.
Earl's always in the Christmas spirit. Very spirited guy, Mr. Erb. Shot thrown wide from Portland State, but still in the Duck zone is the puck, and now cleared the length of the ice.
Well, it's pretty clear what Portland State's trying to do, and that's create a lot of traffic in front of Ben Green, and that's how they got both their goals so far.
And that's a smart strategy against the young goaltender making a first start.
Well, the Ducks employed that strategy the last time we broadcasted against Washington, and even though they didn't get their goal that way, it definitely did work there. We saw plenty of chances where the puck could have gone in.
My adrenaline is honestly still kind of running from that last Husky game.
And that game will go down in infamy, I think.
And we will...
That's off.
We've got something to discuss about the conclusion of that game once we get some time, and I think you're right. I think that net did pop off the moorings.
Yeah.
We had told you at the end of that last broadcast that the game ended as a tie because that's just plain the way the ACHA rules are after overtime. As we've said, though, had that been the deciding game of the I-5 Cup, there would have been a shootout, and the Ducks asked for a shootout. They sent Chris Campbell to the Husky bench saying, let's do a shootout, call the game a tie officially. At least this... we weren't there, but this is the story the Ducks and Coach Leahy told us, that they asked for a shootout solely for I-5 Cup purposes, and Matt Clayton and the Huskies said no. So we'll go with that, and that does make things look a lot different than they did when we just said it was a shootout that was unfortunate. But again, I think the Ducks still won that game 1-1 the way that it happened, and all those fans that they had up there. I think on Halloween, those boys have another thing that they're, those brothers, as we'll say, have another plan on their mind on Halloween night, but we'll hope to see them at some more Duck games because they brought a lot of fun, for sure.
Well, if I may, that's complete Bush League, I feel like, by Washington for saying no to the shootout. I don't know any hockey person that would be completely content with saying, yeah, let's end this game in a tie. In all the years I've played this game, the one thing that's a constant is the heart, the pride, and I've just never heard a coach or a team just say, yeah, we're content with the tie. Regardless if the Ducks scored, the momentum was probably on their side, you still just want to finish the game. And
yeah, You want to get a result, but I mean, at the same time, I do see it for Washington. A tie in that situation in a 4-game rivalry series, a tie is as good as a win. If Washington can steal one in Eugene, they've won the I-5 Cup. On 2 wins
and
and a tie.
There will be plenty of bickering, I'm sure, from the guys about that, because they were pretty pissed off about it after the game. And here's the thing, even though I said it, we said that Jackson said he doesn't like shootouts. Players don't necessarily like games to be decided by shootouts, but you still want an end result to the game that's not a tie, especially when the option's on the table. So, regardless of my thoughts and, maybe some others, at the end of the day, you just want the game to finish with a win or a loss. And
a result. You want a result. Here come the Ducks. It's Chris Campbell, but he lost the puck.
And obviously, I'm sure we're more upset about it because we were the ones that scored with 0.8 seconds left. We're like, okay, well, this game's got to end somehow now. I'm sure Washington had different thoughts, though.
5:53 left, first period. And I think Portland State got caught on a too many men here, did they? We'll see the signal.
Well, the ref's being kind to Carissa, knowing that she's a rookie in the box. Not going to give her the penalty signals.
I think I saw the linesman make a too many men signal. Not really.
That's the only call a linesman can make, too. So, besides offsides and icing, of course. That's probably what it was.
So 5:45 left. Oh, and that one could have been a tap-in, but just not on the right angle. Joe Hoover tried to shoot it. Hit the skate of the Portland State player. Thrown behind the net, stuck against the boards. Ducks trying to get at it. Cody Drees out there along with Zach Foss in the 29. That's going to take some getting used to. Joe Hoover trips it through to the middle, and what a beautiful play that was from Oregon, goal or no goal. I think they would have liked it better with a goal. Foss makes the pass. Now it's back to the point. Harrison Landers. Yale throws it through, and that one hit post. Joe Hoover plays it back behind the net for Foss. Foss with it. What goes the other way now? And good defense being played on Foss, but thrown to Yale. Jake Yale now far side boards and out of the top of the circle. Landers back to Yale. I think the Ducks like that horizontal passing game, and I like it too, as long as it leads to a goal eventually. Thrown through to the middle, and a Duck within 5 yards of a Portland State goaltender.
Chris has got to stop that clock. And she does. Regardless if the Ducks if they get a goal, if they don't on this power play, it's looked pretty solid.
The power, and it's they've kind of gotten their stuff together a little bit. I think the way this game started, everything was so thrown together, and that plays to a road team. A road team, you get the opportunity, especially you're not that far from home, but you still stay in the hotel. You've been here all day. Feels a little bit more like a business trip. And Trevor Schott just shot that one through. Save made, but you kind of can play a little bit looser, and then when you're the home team and nothing's kind of going right at the beginning of the game, you get an early goal, especially, just sort of adds to that, and everything compounds. But Oregon can put up a lot of goals. Trevor Schott passed it. Rebound is there. It's still loose somewhere. Ducks trying to go for the wraparound, but there was a lost stick that prevented Scooby from getting anywhere with that one. Now back to Schott at the point on the power play. Schott tried to make the pass, and now we're back to even strength, and Trevor Schott has to chase that one down. Otherwise, it would have been a breakaway out of the box for number 14, Austin Martin of Portland State. Martin served that too many men penalty.
Marty. It's the nickname they gave us.
So not that big of a stretch for Mr. Martin.
I'll tell you, hockey nicknames are pretty generic.
There's two schools of thought. There's E and there's
Yeah.
And then there's the 3% of nicknames that are something that is not just everything else. Now, what were you? Were you Cat? And what were you?
Yeah. One of my buddies who I was partners with on defense for a long time called me Kitty. But it was mostly just Cat, yeah.
See, and I did not know that. It's pretty easy with hockey names to just look at a name and
you got it.
And figure out. A 99% chance I would be Rosie. Although it's interesting, if I did play for this Ducks team, you'd have to.
Rosies.
There'd be, you'd have to figure something else out because you got. Well, he's Sammy Fourgoals actually, so that's not, the team knows him as Rosie, but up here he's Sammy Fourgoals.
There's some pretty nifty ones here for Portland State. There's Swiss, because the guy's from Zurich, Switzerland.
Yeah, that works. And
I like that one.
We actually had last year the Portland State game, and the second game against Portland State. Patrick got ejected from that game, and he came up here directly behind us, basically while we were broadcasting, and just to say thank you because his family was actually able to watch the game, and
awesome.
They got to watch him get thrown out of the game. But it's hockey; it happens, and
I'm sure his dad was telling stories about that and was pretty happy about that.
One of the Duck parents told me at the one of the team dinners last year the difference between a goon and an enforcer. When he's your son, he's an enforcer.
Yeah.
So that quote has resonated with me. That one through. And Zach Foss trying to get it. Oregon has gone back to the power play. Did you see the call?
Well, Dries is just getting tossed around in front of the net. That's a cross check, like the third one.
And Cody is not someone who's used to getting tossed around like that. He's used to being on the other side of those.
See, that goes back to my early complaints about the three-man system for officiating. So it's not fair for one man to look all over the ice for penalties. It's so easy for someone to do stuff behind the play and the ref not see it.
And we practically had guys on the Ducks basically in as many words say that they capitalize on that against Washington. If you know the referee's watching the puck, you're behind the play, and there's somebody who gave you a cheap shot earlier. There's not a lot of incentive not to give him a little stick to the midsection.
It's universally known for hockey players, especially if you see three refs out there and you have a little issue with one of the players and you see the ref skating up the ice not looking behind him.
It self-polices.
Definitely.
We're back to 90 seconds left in this first period. Oregon trails 2-0. Taron Donnelly trying to change that one, and that shot give a save to the defenseman there. Right into the midsection. Thrown down the whole length of the ice. Oregon is back, or Portland State back to 5 skaters. And now Michael Luke gets it in defense. Luke took his time with it, thought about trying to find Nick Shabara, instead kept it. Under 1 minute now left in the first period. And that one was deflected in front by Taron Donnelly, never got through to Ben Green. And here come the Ducks up ice. Taron Donnelly. Nick Shabara with it now. Scooby moving with it. Scooby going behind the net, keeps the puck. Tried to get it in front, thrown through, and not cleanly on goal. Here comes Portland State with it.
I wish we kept track of shots blocked, because I think Portland State's already in double digits in that category.
And that's the difference maker in the game right now.
Absolutely.
Oregon's got shots from good positions, but they haven't gotten through to Nick Alberts, and as a result, it's still 2-0 to the Vikings. 3 seconds left. That's going to just about do it. And there we go. After one period of play, Portland State leads 2-0, and it's a little bit crazy everywhere, so I think the Ducks may be about to get yelled at by a platypus. What are you saying if you are... I cannot get over that. Let's get some... we're getting some camera on the Ducks getting to the locker room. You can see the coaches, but what are you saying if you're Coach Leahy?
Well, it's difficult because the Ducks, I think, they started out flat, but I think they dominated the entire period. Ben Green faced a couple of shots, and it turned out that both of those shots just happened to be goals. A lot of traffic in front of the net. Interesting scenario here for the Ducks. They've dominated time of possession. Portland State just got lucky on a couple shots, and eventually the Ducks will start getting those shots through. We mentioned earlier Portland State blocking a ton of them.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a quick break here, as I've got to go give some more scoreboard lessons, and now we figure it out. But I'm going to go give some scoreboard lessons, see if we can get ourselves worked out. We'll take a quick break, but don't you go anywhere. After 20 minutes of play, Portland State 2, Oregon nothing. All right, somehow, some way, we're going to get through this hockey game, folks. We are just about ready for the start of the second period. If you are just joining us, we don't have a producer tonight, so we are figuring stuff out as we go. But it's okay. It's all right. Deep breaths. We'll work through it together. We're a team. As for the actual team on the ice, Oregon does trail 2-0 after 20 minutes of play, but I think Colin and I are in agreement that they looked like the stronger team for maybe 18 minutes of that period. Unfortunately, hockey is one of those weird sports where it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It only matters what the scoreboard looks like, and the scoreboard right now not in the Ducks' favor. It's been a little bit chippy. We saw that continue from last night. And as you've said, 3-man system, 1 referee allowed to call penalties. He can only see so many things, and both teams, I think, have taken advantage and will continue to take advantage of that as the night goes on. But we're back. There's 20 minutes on the clock. We're ready for the second period, and we're going to play some hockey. So, keys for the Ducks in this second period.
Get back to business. It was a little festive in the first period. You know, Pat Taylor came out in the carrot suit, and coaches were dressed up in costumes. Well, Coach Leahy and his assistants are now in business mode. They took off the costumes. Expect the Ducks to come out with a little... It's tough to say they didn't have any energy because they did dominate that period, but it wasn't the same team that we saw play against Washington in that second game. But the one constant, though, is that they did get plenty of shots on net. Like we said earlier, Portland State doing a heck of a job blocking shots. So eventually those defensemen should get tired of just blocking all those shots, and maybe some start to go through.
Yeah, and, it's interesting. You point out the coach is not in character for this second period, and I think maybe it can be a little bit hard to take a coach seriously when he's wearing a platypus suit.
Of all animals, the platypus is definitely up there in ones that you just can't take serious.
I don't think anyone has ever taken a platypus seriously.
Right.
We did see that actually the Ducks, I think it was a Portland State game for Halloween last year, and Coach Salahor was not in costume, but Justin Lacasse was a Grinch all game long, but maybe that's an assistant coach's job. But down 2-0 after the first period, all the fun goes away. You just got to start playing hockey and get back to business, like you said.
Well, and also, here's the thing. I'm sure Portland State had this game circled on their calendar because that's just what happens when you go, and this isn't a knock against Portland State, but when you go against, when you go to a not as popular school in your own state and you go up against Oregon, which not only is probably the more popular school in the state, one of the more popular schools in the country, just by brand alone. There's a different energy that Portland State probably has for this game than the Ducks do, just on the sole fact that they are playing the Ducks. It's not, Oregon has the I-5 Cup. They have all these games where you'd think there's a lot more energy and heart put into it, not necessarily against Portland State. So there is definitely, they're not going up against a team that's just going to skate and not show any heart. Portland State's, as we've seen just by the score and just by the chippiness, they've come out to play. They're not afraid of the Ducks, and the Ducks got to respond, and I think they've done a good job in that so far.
And that's a really good point, because this is PSU's I-5 Cup.
Right.
The Ducks might not see it that way, but there is no Oregon State hockey team, at least not yet. We do understand that is in the works, and boy, will that be cool.
That'll be
when there's a frozen civil war. But this is the Oregon in-state rivalry, really, for both of these teams. So, it's a big game, and it's something that caught Dylan and me a little bit off guard last year because we were expecting Portland State, and obviously wrongly so. Hockey players don't lie down, but we were expecting Oregon to win comfortably last year, and they did win both games, but they were chippy, they were competitive, they were feisty. And right now, Portland State wants to get a win, but here comes Sam Rosenberg through the neutral zone across the blue line, shooting from Rosieland out there, a couple of strides in front of the blue line. We saw him score from the top of the circle against Washington, rather. And he lost track of the puck there off his own stick, but it's okay because Darren Toller's back there to collect it. Now, hat trick Patrick Taylor with it. We've been told we're only allowed to call him that now, and no other names.
I can see why.
Thrown behind the net, Jesse Leonard giving chase, tries to get to it and does for Chris Campbell. Campbell makes a nice move, still has the puck, takes a shot, and he scores! That's a great move from Chris Campbell. Oregon gets one back, and it is 2-1. Portland State still leads, but man, what a play.
Definitely what the Ducks needed to start out the period, not only to get back in this game, but to set the tone for this period. You know, I remember interviewing Coach Leahy. It's the ebbs and flows of hockey games. That's what he described it to me. And the Ducks have had the flow for a good majority of this game, and now it's a good sign.
Well, there we go. And I think Ben Green was beaten there, but the shot goes off everyone's favorite metallic friend off the crossbar into the netting, and we'll get a face-off. But that would have been pretty disastrous for Oregon if they get that momentum back, and Michael Luke goes to his office.
But here's the thing. Will Michael Luke own it when he watches this game? Will he say, yeah, that's my office? Or will he probably give you some crap about that?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think a little bit of both. I think the stats would back me up on that one, but Luke knows I love him. And we finally figure out how to put a penalty on the board, and then we started a second too early. But Oregon back to killing the penalty.
Well, if there's one thing that we know, at least with the games that we've broadcasted, Oregon's penalty kill has looked good the entire season.
And apologize for the silence again. Filling in on my many roles tonight with our regular folks in different positions, trying to keep the Twitter updated, get the scoreboard updated, and manage to somehow pay attention to a hockey game. Oregon killing the penalty to Michael Luke. Did you see a call? Or
no,
they're not making them in front of the scorer's booth like they normally would, since they have someone down there who's not going to be able to read the signals, and that means we have to see them live or just guess. Good poke check there from Ben Green. Knocks that one away.
That Michael Luke didn't argue that much, if at all. So it was probably warranted. Or because he recognizes that the penalty box is his office, he's just given up.
Go to your home.
Yeah.
But he has played, to his credit, we kid Michael Luke a lot, and it's been something that's a proud Oregon hockey broadcast tradition. But he's been playing great this year. He made a couple of great hits, and let's not remember, Oregon does not get that tying goal in the I-5 Cup if he doesn't get his stick on the puck coming out of the penalty box. But
very timely.
If he doesn't get his stick on the puck darting out of the penalty box toward the empty netter, Joe Hoover's goal never happens. So he's been an important part of this team. We kid Michael Luke because we love him and because he gives us the opportunity, but he's a big part of this defense, and he's becoming one of the leaders on this team as well, as that shot is through to Ben Green and gloved, and now we're not stopping the clock. There we go.
In every defensive set, we have a certain style of players, and it's incredibly important to have someone like Michael Luke back there on defense that's willing to lay down the boom, and he has done exactly that this season.
And if we do have some broadcast issues, we are, again, trying to work through them. Our systems indicate that we're up and running fine. And Luke is out of the penalty box, and here's Sam Rosenberg. He shoots, and Sammy Fourgoals has it saved.
You know, he's really owning that nickname. He came up to us before the game, and he's just like, I got to live up to it, Sammy Fourgoals.
Sammy Fourgoals dressed as Turtle from Entourage for Halloween when the boys went out for their pregame run, and he looks a little bit like Turtle. I kind of like that.
Also, Sam had voiced a complaint in the car ride back from Seattle. we say Jackson Howry. We say his full name all the time. Sam's a little upset that we don't say his full name all the time. So just pointing that out there.
Well, Mr. Rosenberg has a very nice last name. Member of the tribe. And now we've got something going, and look who it is. Michael Luke involved, and
ref's down.
We've got all sorts of bodies down on the ice.
I got a feeling that's not going to be the last time we see something like that either.
And we'll have to see what penalties.
And the ref is going to call third man in here, which is an automatic ejection. Actually, Michael Luke's going to get ejected.
Well, so Michael Luke is done. There's a player in each box.
For the ACHA, what's the rule on fighting? Do you know? Is that the reason why Luke's going out, or
no? Fighting and well, 21 looks to be done too for Portland State.
I'm almost positive. We'll look at the score sheet.
I believe fighting is 5 in a game.
Well, regardless, I think both Michael Luke and Swiss, Patrick Von Bachel, I'm not even...
So it's a tradition for Patrick.
Yeah.
And you know what? It may have been in a similar involvement play last year. I don't remember it well enough, so I don't really want to assume. We are going to have to try and get... maybe see if we can text down to Carissa in the scorer's booth.
My money says both of them got third man in because there was already a fight happening. You cannot get involved if you're a player on the ice with that said fight happening. So it'll be interesting to see. I know Michael Luke and Swiss got involved pretty close to that fight. So that's why I'm saying that. But it definitely could just be because they were fighting. So regardless, both of them are ejected.
Because they both kind of threw closer to punches.
They were throwing punches.
The skirmish between Chris Campbell and number 20 Josh Powell of Portland State. That's a rivalry game. Roughing. Those are matching roughings. Good on you as the referee. Well, what Michael Luke and Van Boschel did, those were much closer to punches. I don't know if the gloves were ever dropped, but they were punches thrown, and at this level, ejectable offenses.
Well, keep this in mind, too. If in fact, these same refs were here last night, and with all the penalties that happened in last night's game, I'm almost positive that the refs either have gone up to the coaches or said amongst themselves, hey, it's going to be a no-tolerance kind of game. Way too many penalties last night. So if anything happens, we're going to try and put out the fire before it gets a little out of control. So maybe a little quick hook there by the refs on Van Boschel and Luke, but there's plenty of calls. Well, not plenty, but there's 2 in my mind, fighting and third man in, that warrant an ejection. And if it's one of the 2, it makes sense.
Looks like, looking at the score sheet from last night, 1 roughing, 2 roughing, 3 roughing, 4, 5, 6, 7 roughing penalties alone last night. And that doesn't include the other infractions. 18 total penalties were called yesterday, 36 minutes of penalty time.
And to just dumb down what roughing is, it's unnecessary contact. That's the basis of the rule. So it's a lot of behind the play kind of thing, kind of pushing and shoving. So when there's that many roughs, just by the title of the penalty itself, you know that it was a very chippy game last night. Because you can call a multitude of things, but when you just see roughing...
When it's that many, yeah. And you and I have been critical of the officials at this level. Roughing is a call that I think we've both rolled our eyes at least 38 times this season. But given what we've seen tonight, I think that...
And what Sam told us.
And what we saw from these teams last year, I think the roughings were probably okay last night.
Right, yeah.
Just a hunch that, maybe 1 or 2 of them weren't, but more of them than not were probably justifiable penalties called. So we are going to skate 4-on-4 here. It does appear. So the additional penalties called, and what we have to assume was either a fighting or third man in on Van Boschel and on Michael Luke. And if Mama and Pop Van Boschel are watching all the way in Zurich, hello to you. And hello to anyone who's watching from Portland State. Oh, what a move from Oregon, but Shabara couldn't finish. He had everything done except the goal scored there. And he can't believe it. He's still got his hands on his head. But Scooby will get him. And it's starting to look more like an Oregon hockey game.
I mean, there's really not much more you can do there. He faked the goalie out, had him on his back. It was just a great save.
I'll work my Kings reference here in a moment. That cross-ice pass. Cody Drees throws it, he scores! Shot from the blue line right in front of the Ducks bench, and he will be engulfed by his teammates. And what a shot there from Cody Drees to tie it at 2, 13:51 left. First period will continue to second period, and we'll continue to skate 4-on-4.
Bomb squad. Absolute bomb by Drees from the point. Cheese had no chance stopping that one. That puck had eyes.
That puck did. And I try and figure out what in the world I'm doing here, getting the score on the board. Oregon trying to add to it, and Cheese going to have to just hop on top of that one.
It looked like all these guys needed was just to get a little more locked in, ditch the suits, all that stuff. This is the Ducks team that we've seen all year. Carissa's having some difficulty down there in the box, didn't stop the clock.
I've done that job before, and I always said I will run scoreboard. I cannot do scoreboard and the score sheet. It's a lot to try to focus on, and she's got a lot on her plate tonight.
Well, I'll counter you. I did scorekeeping over the summer. I was able to do all that and be on my phone at the same time. Well,
we're not all as awesome as you, Kat.
Well, in defense of you guys, I was doing adult league, not ACHA, so there was some leeway.
A tiny bit less stressful, although some of these games, when we're not a close game, they can look a little more similar. But we've got an even one and a good one. 2 straight goals scored by both teams, so we are 0-0. Call it 2-2. Oregon going to go on the power play. Well, and I sound like a broken record saying that someone's going to go on the power play because that's basically all that's been happening so far. So make a wish. We have a 4-on-3.
Well, the Ducks really just got to keep up the consistency on their energy, shots, all that stuff, because by all accounts, the game last night was just a game of runs. The Ducks would go up by a couple goals. Portland State would come back. Ducks go back and up another couple goals, come right back. So you got to eliminate the runs, even though the ebbs and flows are part of hockey. There's things you can do about it to make sure that doesn't reflect on the scoreboard. So as long as they just keep up the same energy, put the pressure on, get shots on net, it seems like the Ducks will have a chance to build on the lead that they have in this period.
A lot of open ice out there, and that plays into the hands of the Ducks and those horizontal passes we've seen them try to make so far. You got a lot more space to do that. Meanwhile, Portland State, 3-man PK, very compact. Oregon trying to take advantage and get their first lead of the game. Trevor Schott has it near the blue line. Schott gets it back out to Zach Foss, again wearing the unfamiliar 29 tonight, and we're about to go from 4-on-3 to 5-on-4. Space will disappear momentarily, and we're back to 5-on-4 now. Oh, what a goal from Trevor Schott! He looked like he was going to pass until the absolute last moment, and Colin, that's got you smiling.
That's just what you call silky mitts right there. Just absolute finesse job by Trevor Schott. Nothing too spectacular about the shot, just a lot of stick work that opened up the 5-hole on Cheese, Nick Alberts.
So we're now back. We were 4-on-3 like 10 seconds ago, and we're going to be back to 5-on-5 as Oregon gets the power play goal right after the 5-on-4 hit started. So exciting game for everybody.
3 players swing, huh? Isaac doing it all tonight, doing play-by-play, doing the Twitter account, and making sure we're up and running on the broadcast.
Someone's got to do it already. We're back underway, and I'm back looking at the actual game.
I'll just point out Isaac is in mid-season form already.
It's on top of his 7.5-hour day at work tonight. Only got yelled at a lot at work today. That's what happens when you work in a call center. Speaking of calls, one of them is going to go against Portland State momentarily as Ikshabala took himself offside. And right back to the box goes Portland State. You know, the Portland State Twitter account made a reference last night to after killing off many penalties, the Vikings lose. A little bit of a minor little shot at the officiating maybe from the Portland State tweeting. We would never, ever do anything like that in Oregon. Of course not.
In my eyes, the refs do an amazing job. Every game is decided by the players.
Only the players. Never anybody else. No. Only the players impact these games. Here come the Ducks again on the power play. Harrison Landers has it now. He gets it through. It's loose in front. Tried to put through with his Foss, and it's right into the equipment. And again, skirmishes in front. And the Ducks need to keep their cool because
refs are not having it. They're taking Dries and they're taking the captain from Portland State. You know, it's a little skirmish. Usually doesn't get called, but this ref is really not going to have it this game.
Well, and he's trying to make a point.
Matching roughs, probably.
And you ever seen the captain C on the right side of the chest?
No, have not.
So Cody Dries goes to the box. Connor Hay goes to the box. Now, we were talking about those nicknames. Connor Hay is Dover.
You know what? And I'm not even going to hazard to guess why. It's probably an inside one. Like, why is Taron Donnelly's Mooch? Well, no one would ever know unless you know.
Unless you ask. There's a reason for that one. We won't go over it on air. Yeah. And I don't think a goalie would really appreciate being called cheese. That's awful close to Swiss cheese.
Well, so Albert's isn't that a dairy company?
Is it? Maybe that's what it is. Well, Jesse Leonard throws it through a rebound,
or maybe he just gets lit up in practice and is at his own.
That seems a pretty harsh thing to call your goaltender. Maybe that's some hazing there. We'll see if Cheese's parents are watching, and you can tell us why. We'd love to hear. Or anybody watching from Portland State, you can hit us up in the comment section of that social stream. We'd always like to hear that we're getting some other viewpoints on the broadcast, and the Duck parents and family as well. A comment earlier from Stephanie Luke regarding Mr. Michael.
It's the enforcer. It's the thing you were telling me about.
10:21 left. Second period. Oregon has scored the last 3 goals, and they now lead this game 3-2. At least 2 of those goals, I believe, on the power play for the Ducks. And 5-on-4 as we're back to that 4-on-3 now. Oh, what a move from Trevor. Another one! And he goes wide, but Trevor's shot starting to feel it tonight. Jake Yale wants the puck. Instead, they go back to Shot, and he almost takes out a referee. Now back, Joe Hoover. Hoover at the O. And back to Yale, back to Hoover, back to Shoddy. Hoover shoots it, and that one, there was kind of a gaping hole there for Jake Yale to shoot at. Took maybe just a half a second too long, and it ends up going right into the chest protector with 9:40 left, second period.
There's not much time in thinking about what you want to do on a one-timer, whether you want to hold it for a wrist shot, little snap shot, or a slap shot. Yale thought he could hold it for a sec, maybe get a better shot off if he did. He had a hole there, obviously didn't see it, but you know what? It's just been a great period for the Ducks anyway. That stuff will always happen. It's just good to get shots on net.
Well, we'll be back to 5-on-5 shortly. We'll see how long it lasts. thrown down kind of the length of the ice, but Joe Hoover gets to it first.
Why isn't that offsetting? Why is it 4-on-4? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I must tell you this 3 times a game. You cannot try too hard to analyze these things because it will just drive you bonkers.
If the ACHA just has a different set of rules.
Well, we had matching minors in Seattle.
That's true.
So
they must not do offsetting penalties then.
Well, they did. They had offsets in Seattle and they had minors in Seattle. So it's almost rink to rink and official to official, and it just shouldn't be.
Yeah. It's making me seem like I'm a bad, because I do officiate in the summer. It makes me seem like I'm a bad official, but I thought I knew the rules all right.
Well, and one of the things to consider is that these refs are not. They ref the ACHA, but obviously they have day jobs. They're not ACHA refs. So they're local refs. They're sanctioned refs, but they ref this. They ref kiddie league. They ref adult league, and that some of them ref generals games at junior hockey. So they've got like 15 different sets of rules to learn, and some of those things they maybe all start to blend into each other.
Yeah.
Do not see Alex Kasparovsky tonight, one of our favorite officials on the broadcast. Mostly just because his name is really, really fun to say.
Am I familiar with him? Have we been a part of one of his games yet?
Oh yeah, you've seen Casper.
Oh, was he at the Washington State game?
I think he's only done the lines, but
okay.
He's got the name on the back of his ref shirt.
The referee tonight has it too.
Yeah. Don't know his first name or how to pronounce that last name, so he doesn't get the Casper treatment. Here is Scooby again with it, dancing, and his shot is saved.
I'd say 9 times out of 10, that shot usually goes in. Goalie going left, shot going right. But Alberts was all there for it.
And there's a penalty coming up. Taron Donnelly goes down. He was crunched against the boards off the play. You figure interference or roughing. Interference the call.
There we go.
I'm getting it.
You're getting there.
7:55 left. Second period.
And he knows it too.
Here it is again. Oregon to the power play. And that's Tanner Ward, Tan McCann. I love this with the nicknames on the roster.
McMahon.
We've got to make that a rule. I'm having a lot of fun with that. 7:55 again left, second period. Ducks to the power play once more. They'd love to make this a 4-2 game. Bodies are flying tonight and they're getting crunched against the boards. Clearing space in front are some Viking players there, and the puck ends up somewhere underneath.
Ross wearing 29 tonight.
It's normally Chris Maddox's number, isn't it? Yeah. Well, we did get a text, and Mr. Rosenberg, Samuel Rosenberg, also known as Sammy Four Goals.
Oh, so
make sure.
Full name.
Full name.
Samuel Rosenberg.
If Mama or Papa Rosenberg are watching, I'd love to know the middle name. I don't know that Sam would want that, but
it's not about what he wants.
It's not. It's about what the viewers want.
We already just appeased him now and said his full name, at least the full first name.
But he's looking out for us, making sure that we know that. Oh, a goal there on the one-timer. Taron Donnelly makes it 4-2. We got to stop talking about ourselves. We got a game to watch.
Another bomb from the point. Taron Donnelly there with just an absolute ripper. And again, no chance for Nick Alberts on that shot. That's just too hard of a slap shot to react to sometimes.
And really, she hasn't had a shot on any of the 3 Duck goals. You had a rocket from the point. You had that rocket on the slap shot, and you had Chris Campbell just doing disgusting moves in front.
That was Trevor Schott doing the.
It was. So we've got 4. Campbell had the nifty move too,
okay.
But. So we've been neglecting to update that scoreboard there. Again, I do have 17 jobs I'm trying to do tonight, in addition to somehow watching this hockey game. There we go. There's a nice up-to-date scoreboard for you as Portland State takes it through the zone. And 6:34 left second period as Oregon takes a 2-goal lead. And thank you to my buddy Zach texting me, making sure that scoreboard was up to date. Chris Campbell with that nice fancy C on his chest. That's new this year. Moves through the zone and got a shot on. Ducks trying to just add to it, and you'd like to just get this game and biggest lead you can get and take as much pressure off yourself for that third period, but you also wonder what's going to start happening to Portland State if they start to get more than 3 or so goals behind. This game might turn even chippier. Campbell behind the net. Hoover wants the one-timer. Instead, Chris will throw it through, and that deflected off something metal. Don't know if it was a post or a crossbar.
Portland State got away with another penalty there. Nick Savara got hit from behind just blatantly.
And then he's run into by 2 different guys, but meanwhile, Oregon trying to just be the better team or be the bigger team and not react. We talk about it so often, the reaction gets called more than the original infraction. As another rebound given up there by Alberts. But this time he's on top of it. 5:02 left, second period.
Portland State called the timeout as well.
4 straight goals scored by Oregon. And it feels like it's been a while since Ben Green has been tested at all.
And that may work to his benefit, too, being his first game, not having to see much action. You know, to get thrown in the fire, I'd say we're about mid-season. So to have that be your first game, and he has been tested, not as much as Jackson Howery has been in the past.
What? Yeah, they watching?
We just got informed by our friend Swiss that the parents are in fact watching.
Strikes me as a really nice guy, and he did last year too. When he came over, he's got a big smile on his face. Got thrown out of a hockey game. It's a good night.
Yeah.
This Halloween, Mom and Dad are watching the hockey game. I can't think that happens for him too often. So, hello Switzerland, an international broadcaster. We can both add that to our resumes. Really? And
our camera
woman is a Swiss citizen. I had a Swiss dog growing up. Bernese Mountain Dog. I'd say it's way more cool, Bella.
I'm not well versed in the Swiss culture. I know Roger Federer, the great tennis players from Switzerland, and that's about it.
We just naming Swiss things now as it reached that point of the broadcast?
With a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, you're right, Bella.
Swiss Army knife, also good.
Anyway, face off in the Portland State zone.
There you go. Bringing us back. That's why you're here. Behind the net is Portland State. And the one Duck fan on the boards there, letting Portland State know what he thinks. That one would have been offside off the foot of Zach Foss, creating the offside. Portland State now moving wrong way with it.
Plenty of glass pounding in our last broadcast against Washington.
Yes, and I think that there will be just as much glass pounding going on at the home games of the I-5 Cup. We hope each and every one of those boys is out here for that one. Loose in front somewhere, ref can't see it, he'll stop the clock. 4:16 left, call it 4:15 left in the second period. Oregon with a 4-2 lead. And that shot from Darren Toller hit a stick, but Oregon somehow comes out with it. Seth Starr scores! And I believe that's goal number 1 for Seth Starr with exactly 4 minutes left. The Alaska native. One of the Alaska natives, Patrick Taylor, also hailing from our 49th state. 49 or 50? Which is Hawaii last or Alaska last? I should know this.
I think Hawaii was last.
I believe I got it right. I think it's the 49th state.
Our camera woman trying to mess us up, saying Puerto Rico is a state.
And we'll get the score updated on the broadcast as soon as we can. Trying to watch what's happening behind the play. Portland State trying to get another shot, and they nearly did, but as we try and keep everybody informed, you guys get to see it happen, and I didn't get to see that one happen, but somehow it's 5-3 now. And Ben Green is still shrugging at that one. He was totally out of the play, but I think the goal is going to be given.
Well, what happened was that the goal was fine. It's just one of the players on the left end of the ice seemed to have come up and swiped his skate. Little cheap move there, but. And I was about to say this before they did score. The lead the 5-2 lead, I wasn't so comfortable with, just given by the fact that last night was filled with a game of runs.
Absolutely.
So, if you're the Ducks, obviously, I sound like a broken record. You just got to keep the same pressure up because last night's game was filled with runs. This one seems to be like a game with runs. I mean, the Ducks scored 5 in the second, so it seems like this might be a theme against Portland State with just a high-scoring type of affair. So if you're the Ducks, you really just got to keep the pressure on. Stay disciplined because it's getting really chippy out there, just like it was last night.
Speak of the devil, another penalty coming up, this one against Oregon.
That's a hold. Jesse's not too happy with that one.
And Jesse Leonard indeed sits down for 2 minutes on the holding. Not sure what that one is. Ah, yes, Earl is wearing the Santa hat. Always in many spirits is Earl. Halloween, Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July. He's a spirited man, Earl. And Colin trying to call a penalty from up here. There will be no tripping call, although there was probably a tripping. 1:43 left on that penalty to Jesse Leonard.
I've learned to pick and choose my complaints.
You pick your battles, exactly. Oregon looking aggressive on the PK again, and we've seen that from them time and time again this year and in years past, as Ben Green faces a shot there and makes another nice save. 2:15 left, second period, 1:31 left on the 5-on-4, but we'll see if Portland State makes it that long without taking a penalty of their own, and I don't know the way this game has been going. Oregon gets the clear and all the way directly to the goaltender there, Nick Alberts for Portland State. Portland State just does barely get onside in the zone. That shot is slapped through, and another save made by Ben Green. All of a sudden, he's working up a sweat there in his own crease. 1:54 left, second period. This is a big 2 minutes of hockey. A big 2 minutes with Oregon up 2 goals. It's not exactly the most liked lead in hockey, a 2-goal lead, but you like 2 a lot more than you like 1, and that's going to make the intermission discussions for the coaches very different if it's 5-3 versus 5-4. Oregon, meanwhile, not entirely ruling out a shorthanded goal of their own. They've been known to score 1 or 2 of those. Chris Campbell knocks his man into the bench. Portland State working it. 1:15 left. Second period, 30 seconds left on the penalty to Leonard. Our very own Ann Yilmaz working the Ducks penalty box door tonight. Former Oregon Daily Emerald Ducks beat writer. Took over that beat from yours truly.
No sour grapes there, is there?
Oh, that allowed me to do the broadcast.
Okay.
Had a lot of fun working with the Emerald. Got some stories to tell, but mostly fun ones. Portland State now, we're back to 5-on-5, but the Vikings still with the puck. Last minute of this period, they're trying to make a difference. 30 seconds left in the period now. Chipped up ice by Jake Yale. And now neutral zone, Portland State with it. Connor Hay, and got confused with one of his own teammates there, and now it's thrown backwards into the Viking zone. Here come the Ducks. One-timer through, and 11 seconds left. Oregon can still set something up here. We certainly know they've got guys that can score with not a lot of time left on the clock. We've been there before. Donnelly with it, gets it through. No Joe point 8 there. 5-3 the score after 2 periods of play. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be back with a little bit of an intermission discussion shortly. For now, Oregon 5, Portland State 3. After 40 minutes of play, don't you go anywhere. Well, we are back moments before the start of the third and final period of play. Oregon currently leads Portland State 5-3. It was 2-0 in favor of Portland State after the first period. So needless to say, the second period was a little bit different, 20 minutes. What were the biggest differences you saw?
I didn't see much of a difference from the first period other than the fact that those shots just started going in. You know, Trevor Schott had a really nice goal there. The points got involved on the power play. Just a couple good moves from Chris Campbell and Trevor Schott and a couple bombs from Cody Dries and Taron Donnelly. So it was mostly the same that we saw, you know, from the 17-minute mark down from the first period. And then Portland State snuck in there in the final 2 minutes to get a goal. If I'm Coach Leahy, the only thing you can really say is just make sure to stop the runs. Because last night was a game of runs. This game, by all means, is a game of runs. So just so you don't have lightning strike twice, just make sure you lock it down this period. Because, you know, even though a 2-goal lead isn't a favorable lead, it is, at the end of the day, a 2-goal lead. So try and lock it down as much as you can while staying aggressive, and that's just the Ducks' style. So I have no doubt that they won't let up or anything. But just judging by what we've heard and by what we saw, this game and this team, Portland State, it's a team and it's a game of runs. So if they can minimize the runs that Portland State makes and try to lock it down defensively, the Ducks should be able to get out of this one with a win.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about that being a game of runs a lot, and this is not a game that's over. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. If you're in that locker room right now and you're Portland State, you're saying that you skated to a 2-goal lead after the end of that first period. And, you know, Oregon, they scored 5 straight. And Portland State got that last goal, which is big for momentum to have gotten the last goal of the period, especially to keep it from getting out of hand. It was a 3-goal lead, and almost immediately was right back down to a 2-goal lead. So Oregon looks good. They have really looked like the better team all night, but they haven't looked out of Portland State's league. And, you know, maybe that's trying to get a little fancy because the Ducks know they think they can get away with that. It's working for them, so it's not exactly, you know, it's not exactly been self-correcting. It was a little bit in that first period, and again we saw them come out of the locker room for the second period. Platypus and penguin costumes no longer on for the coaching staff. So, you know, they started taking themselves a little bit more seriously, and they skated out to that lead. But, you know, it continued to be chippy. Portland State took a lot of penalties. Oregon took a lot of penalties. You did a little bit of research on the Michael Luke infraction. Why don't you fill us in?
Well, we were questioning whether it was third man in or fighting that caused Von Baschel and Luke to be ejected. It was, in fact, fighting, and Michael Luke also received an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. So they were ejected because of fighting, and you know what? That makes sense, given that the fact that we just looked at the score sheet from yesterday, and it's just rough. The referee, obviously, is probably trying to minimize the potential for more altercations this game. So that's probably why Michael Luke and Von Baschel were ejected. I'm not familiar with the ACHA rules that well, so I don't know if fighting is an automatic ejection. But just judging by what had happened in the second period, it seems like it is.
I believe it's typically 5 in a game. Maybe from what we saw, maybe just because no one served the 5, so maybe it's just the ejection. I do believe it's suspension too, and if it is a 1-game suspension, that's really unfortunate for the Ducks, because I've just pulled up the schedule on the laptop in front of us here, and Colin, what does it say? What's that next name on the schedule after PSU?
That's Utah.
And those are the 2 games for Oregon where everything, you know, everything needs to go right to get a win against Utah. Utah's a well-disciplined team. They're a well-trained team. They almost function like a varsity Division I program. And, you know, they've even kind of had some discussions. You know, Utah's a team, they bring a portable skate sharpener with them when they go on the road. And, you know, that hockey's huge there, and they get hundreds of people to their games. They actually are one of the other programs in the Pac-8 that has a broadcast. Matt Coma runs a great production for them, and he's probably going to be here. We might have to share a box when he's down here.
I don't know if I can share.
Or we can kick him to the other side of the rink, or say Oregon broadcasters only. We'll figure something out. But Utah's a really good, really well put together program, and it's been a couple years. I think Oregon has beat them once since they've come to the Pac-8, and I think it's only once. So, the Ducks skated with them for sustained periods of play in the Pac-8 championship game last year before penalties just started to snowball and things got a little bit out of hand. But Utah, by all accounts, is a very good team this year. They absolutely destroyed BYU last night. I think the final score of that game, following the Utes on Twitter, was something like 16-1.
Wow.
And I was under the impression that BYU was a pretty good program. So, Utah's a very good game, and Michael Luke, it might not be as much of a goal-scoring loss, although we've seen him score from the point this season. But that's no pun intended, that's a very big loss defensively for the Ducks to have a guy like Michael Luke out, if it is in fact a suspension and not just a one-gamer. I do believe it is, though. I'm pretty confident in that. But that's next week. We'll worry about that. No, not next week. Yeah, it is. Wow, next week, November 7th. 6th, look at that. And we are underway in the third period of play here. 19:56 officially left. Jesse Leonard goes down. No penalty there called, as the Ducks trying to push forward and expand this lead. So we're back. Jesse Leonard tried to get it behind the net, but was run into. Instead, it's Portland State with it in their own zone, going behind their own net, almost behind their own net, and then thinking better of it. Here come the Vikes, and they lose it, and we'll just play catch with it a little bit here as Oregon gets their first line change of the period in. Harrison Landers throws it to Taron Donnelly. Donnelly's wearing an A on his chest this year. Well deserved. And still with it is Taron Donnelly, still with it. And eventually it is loose behind the net. Jake Yale flips it back to Donnelly, now to Cody Dries. Dries has a goal tonight, and he's been on the receiving end of a couple of hits, which he's not used to being on the receiving end of them. He took two there, though, two how-do-you-dos. Shot from Yale is saved and almost looked like it was going to trickle in after.
Little knuckle puck.
As that was Austin Martin that was giving Dries the time of day, and Cody took himself out there, and it's going to lead to a Portland State break. And a shot rockets off the crossbar. That's a big miss from Portland State, and a great opportunity for the Vikings there goes away.
It's been Ben Green's best friend. Portland State's number one enemy tonight is the crossbar. That's about, I think, the third shot that's gone off.
It's at least the third shot that's gone off something metallic. Taron Donnelly just does keep it in the Portland State zone, but the Vikings recover the puck. Kept in the zone again, thrown behind the net, and it will go as far as Trevor's shot. Shot frees the puck and makes a nifty move there. Still with it is Trevor. That shot goes through. Rebound is there, and Oregon scores.
Sammy, one goal.
That's one of them. Mr. Rosenberg puts it home, and it is 6-3. Oregon leads.
I'm actually filming the game, but you can let me know while I'm filming.
Now, as cliche and probably as corny as it sounds, the Ducks, what they need to do and worry about is about this period. Win the period, and then you'll be fine. Just given how the game has gone so far, how the game last night went, you can't be concerned about the end result of the game right now because you have the lead. What you need to be worried about, though, is how you finish out this period, because then that will decide the end result of this game. So it's good to see the Ducks have kept up the same pressure. Samuel Rosenberg with the goal.
The one and only. Portland's finest. And you got to feel like Sam Rosenberg is as familiar as any with this Portland State roster. That one thrown through from very far out, and Ben Green forced into the save.
Ben Green's talking to the official. He's been getting knocked around after the play a lot, so I'm sure he's mentioning to the ref, like, hey, take a look at this stuff because I'm getting all this contact for no reason after the play.
Yeah, and that's not something, goalies are...
they don't like their contact.
And they'll watch it there, and so, I couldn't quite see. We've got the stream up on our own table here, so we have about a 30-second delay. We can see stuff like that. Didn't see what Green was on about, but not surprised that there might have been something given the way this game has sort of been unfolding. That one's going to go the length of the ice, but there will be no ice as Portland State gets there first. And then they go behind the net trying to center to the Vikings, and they can't quite keep it in the zone, so they have to reset through their own zone now. That one knocked forward. Chris Campbell tries to get to it. Down goes a Viking, and Campbell comes up with the puck. Campbell flips it forward, and again, Oregon doing a good job keeping that puck in the Portland State zone when the Vikings try to clear. Shabara shoots and scores. He had a passing option, and he didn't care. He just thought he could beat the goaltender, and he did.
Point blank range. Now is when the refs need to start watching out for the chippy play, if there's ever been a time, because now it's 7-3. We've talked about runs and how the game went last night, but it's pretty safe to say, I think, in the third period with a 7-3 lead, that the Ducks might come out of this game with a win. And given the massive deficit in the score, in the way Portland State's played tonight, I wouldn't be surprised to see more chippy after the play stuff happens, just out of pure frustration for the Vikings.
Absolutely, and nothing would surprise us, but I think the one thing that might surprise us would be if there's no penalties for the rest of this game. We may even see some more skirmishes the way that these games have been going. I think Oregon, though, has to stay focused. They have to know Utah's next on the schedule, and they have to not do anything that they're going to regret. They do lead 7-3 in this game, getting to be in the conversation of over, but one or two quick goals from Portland State. We've said it time and time again. This game can be a game of runs. It certainly has been so far today. It certainly was yesterday. So Portland State gets a quick one, a quick two, and we're right back to a competitive hockey game again. If Oregon gets the next one or two, then it might start to get pretty ugly. Ducks do still have the puck. A backhander from Jake Yale there is saved by Nick Alberts.
What's good to see is that the Ducks haven't changed their pace, haven't changed their style once in this game. And even after that goal there, they're still running the same system. They're still as aggressive as they were before. So if you're thinking of any letdown after a 7-3 lead, it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. These Ducks are keep up the same intensity throughout the whole game.
And Cody Dries delivers a big hit there. He's more used to that. Rosenberg is held up against the corner, and right in front of the Ducks bench, I think a Portland State stick may have disappeared into the Duck bench. And we're through, goes behind the net again.
Yeah,
that'll get called every time as we've got a Portland State player down. 13:57 left on the clock. Again, no clock on our broadcast tonight because Dylan's the only one who knows how. We'll learn. I thought I knew how to run the whole program. Darren Toller makes a visit to the penalty box along with Cody Dries, along with U-Try, number 2.
Boschenstein.
If Steven's family is watching and you want to give us a pronunciation guide in the comments, please let us know and we will not butcher his name.
Good luck with that one. I'm not good with those pronunciation guides. So Isaac will pay attention.
Better with the pronunciation guide than without.
I just
Boeschenstein.
well, the nickname
The spelling
Bosch,
there,
so
and the nickname really, frankly, doesn't help because the Bosch is the part of that that's hard to pronounce.
Right. Yeah.
So 2 minutes each to Dries and Toller, and 2 minutes to Steven.
Well, it's gonna be. Oh, never mind. I had something insightful to say, but I don't think I have anything to say anymore.
And see, now we'll take. Now we've got coincidentals, but they're on the board, which they normally wouldn't be. And one extra. So who knows? We'll shrug and continue to try and pretend like we know what's going on.
Well, it seemed like Cody Dries and Darren Toller were signaling the bench that either one more on the ice or one more in the box. I'm pretty confused. So maybe in my spare time I'll go and look up an ACHA rule book, or maybe contact one of my refs from back home who does ACHA games and see what the protocol is on these penalties. Because
that'd be great. If you've got a contact, I'd love to know what the rules actually are.
I know a few refs that do ACHA games in Florida, so yeah, I'm sure the rules are exactly the same. So I'll definitely have to look into that, because this doesn't make sense. Because in all the games that I've refed in USA Hockey rules, Darren Toller would have gotten a 2-minute penalty and a 10-minute for checking from behind. And if the player is injured, he gets a 5 in a game. But that's USA Hockey rules. Obviously, the ACHA is different. So, I'm not too well versed in the whole protocol for those situations.
Trevor shot a one-man penalty killing unit out there. That shot blocked, and here we go again. That one to the point for Portland State. Gets it to the opposite point, and losing track of the puck a little bit was Zach Powell. Now Oregon with a chance for a shorthanded break. Instead, they'll just clear the puck to length of the ice with 12:57 left in this period. And in this hockey game, 7-3 the score. Dries and Boeschen, however, both standing in the box. Well, they each have 51 seconds left on their penalty. Toller's got 51 seconds left too, but he will be out after a whistle, we'd have to assume.
All right, so...
And the linesman is coming to...
All right, so I think Darren Toller will be in the box until... I don't know the time on the penalty that he was in, but he'll be out for probably the majority of the game.
Most of the rest of the game, because it looks like they'll have someone... He probably did get assessed a 10, too.
Well, hat-trick Patrick Taylor serving the 2 for him, so...
It's a crowded box down there.
Yeah.
3 ducks and a box opener. Looks almost like... This is what we're used to seeing in the I-5 Cup, is just penalty boxes full of players. And maybe we'll come up with a clever name for this rivalry when we have time to think about it. Oregon still leads 7-3. They are on the penalty kill now. Penalty kill has looked pretty strong for the Ducks tonight after giving up an early goal. 12:02 left. And
that's right.
Are we 5-on-5 now?
Yeah, we're 5-on-5.
All right, we're all set. We're 5-on-5. How about that? The Ducks playing with 3 of them then? Well, the referee's not calling anything, and we've got 5 players aside, so we're all set, and Darren Toller is sitting for who knows how long.
Well, if it's like what I said, he'll probably be out for majority of the game. Might get out around the 3-minute mark, if I could estimate. But that's usually what happens when you check someone from behind. You get the 2 and the 10. And he's lucky that the player wasn't injured, because that would be a 5 in a game if he was. So, and with what you said, Utah coming up, none of these Ducks need penalties like that. Will require them to sit out the next game.
And we saw what happened when you get a little bit shorthanded the first Duck game, and really the second one also. against Washington. To be down 2 veteran defensemen like that against Utah, that's almost a death sentence, as Portland State gets a goal there, and Ben Green, again, not involved in the play, with the goal going to stand.
Well, that's been the case with all 3 of Portland State's goals tonight. Just a lot of traffic in front of the net. Ben Green was down on the play. I don't know if he was knocked down or if he slipped, or I don't know, but that's just been the theme of Portland State's offensive attack, is just getting a lot of traffic in front of the net. Ben Green's given up a couple of rebounds tonight. Now that's going to happen if you have a system like Portland State runs, with just crash the net and Ben Green giving up rebounds. 9 times out of 10, a goal will happen on that little equation.
So the next, and this is what we talked about. Portland State got that next goal. They still trail by 3. But if they get the next one, we're a very different hockey game at 7-5 than we are at 7-4, as the clock ticks down a couple of extra seconds.
There's a lot of time left. The Ducks are still in a comfortable position. What you just don't want to see is the intensity, just the swarming of the puck that the Ducks have shown the entire game. You don't want to see that go away, because then the score will be 7-5. Oh, the next thing you know, it's a 2-goal lead instead of the 4-goal lead that was just there. Portland State has time to just chip away, and you just can't allow that if you're the Ducks.
Shot with a one-timer, a big rebound from the save by Alberts. And what you want from Oregon is to play this game as if it's Utah. And we see the Ducks sometimes when they play Washington States, when they play Portland States, when they play Western Washingtons, get a little bit individual because they can get away with it. And what you want right now, I think, if you're Coach Leahy, is you want to implement system hockey. You want to play, good fundamental passing plays, just like you're playing a team like a Utah. And, you want to, game action practice. This is really valuable minutes to try and institute some things that you hope to be able to do next week.
Well, and you'll hear it if you ask any of the players or, any of the coaches. They might, they're not looking at Utah right now. They're not thinking of Utah. So after this game, they'll be like, all right, well, we're focused on Utah now. But as of right now, that's not the case. Trevor's shot got laid out from behind. I'm surprised it's not a penalty on Portland State.
I think that's what some of the Duck fans are saying in maybe less friendly language than Colin. 9:10 left, third period.
But you're absolutely right. It is going to be a different game against Utah. They're going to have to look a lot more cleaner. But right now, I think they're doing I think the offense has looked really good. We know this team can turn it on and lock in. That first game against Washington, 13-6. Next game, 1-1. So this team can lock it in when it is called upon. So I think they'll be just fine against Utah. But you're right, you would like to see a little bit, maybe crisper play from the Ducks in this final period leading up to that game against Utah.
Cody Drees with it now, and he tries to get it up ice. Now Nick Shabara with it, and Shabara moves around a couple guys, tries to get it to Leonard. Leonard stretches and gets to it. And Leonard now back to Chris Campbell. Campbell back centering, but no one there, and Taryn Donnelly with it. And we've got a Portland State player struggling to get over the bench. There's a door also, we'll point out, but didn't want to use it. Hockey player's a strange breed. Backhand there into the equipment of Nick Alberts. 8:05 left.
Earl's putting on the butterfly wings.
That's distracting. 7:54, 3, 2, 1.
You put him away. Chris is getting yelled at by all sides here.
I don't blame Portland State for that.
Absolutely not.
I know Chris is not used to this job, and I'm not, not at all the intention to bag on her. She's a big part of making the broadcast crew happen and making us all organized. But, all you see if you're Portland State is a home operator in the scorer's booth with a 3-goal lead letting extra seconds tick off. And you know damn well if this was a game at Portland State that I would be looking at that a little bit differently. So, I understand the Vikings' frustration. I know Carissa's trying, and it's, if she watches the game later, I'm not criticizing you, but I understand the frustration, certainly for the Vikings.
Now, you know what? She's doing a horrible job. I'm not going to give her any pass.
Colin a little less friendly, but we have a good time. We have a good time here. Patrick Taylor through the neutral zone. Gets it up to Sammy 4 goals. And knocked off of Rosenberg's stick, but the Ducks keep it in. Taylor trying to move it around. Seth Starr, a goal scorer out there tonight.
If I could make an announcement to all the viewers out there, Sammy 4 goals isn't happy with that nickname he has right now. He told us before the game he's going for Sammy 8 goals. So look for that sometime this season.
Well, he didn't get any yesterday.
Probable 8.
I'll buy you a steak, Sam, if you can get 8 goals in the game. How about that? So that goes for any Duck. Score 8 goals in the game, and
I don't think I've seen 8. I mean, I might have seen it in like rec league or in-house, but not in games like this.
Not in the competitive college hockey game.
Right.
Here's Trevor Schott, who I might owe a mistake by the end of the year. If anyone's going to score 8 goals on this team, it's probably number 9 or number 95. 6:07 left.
It's a good challenge there by Nick Alberts. Trevor Schott was just practically on him. No one was in front of him. No one was to the side of him. And Nick Alberts just came out of his crease a little bit, shut down most of the angles that Schott could have used. So that was a good save by him. Real heady play.
And we're going to have another whistle coming up in the face-off circle and to the left of Alberts. That's his glove side. Trevor Schott with it. He fires in. Don't think that one got all the way through. That's going to go the length of the ice. Joe Huber will chase it down. No ice. And here's Schott again moving through. Schott tries to get it to Yale, and he couldn't put it home. A great pass from Trevor Schott there, and it's not easy to get yourself into that position that Jake Yale did either. And Jake's one of his own toughest critics, and he's not going to be happy that he didn't put that one through.
I'm sure Schott will give him a hard time about that one too.
As Taron Donnelly is knocked down behind the play, gets up and shrugs, tack it up to the 3-man system. Here's Chris Campbell. Campbell and Schott out there. And Campbell lost it. And lost at edge. Kept the puck through all that, though, did Chris. And now it is here again from Chris Campbell, and the field goal is good. And Portland State is down a player right now. We saw, couldn't see the number, and I don't want to unnecessarily scare any parents, so we won't speculate, but somebody had a lot of trouble getting over the boards earlier.
Man, this crowd is quick to get on the clock operator. Probably just giving Chris a hard time. That came from the Ducks bench.
Well, and you don't want to be, it's. I think the Ducks don't want to be seen as a team that's doing that.
Right.
Then they're not. That's not a regular thing. But word travels quickly. 4:29 left officially.
Well, Chris is a nice person, and let me just point out, we heard plenty of stories about the Washington clock operators and box operators in general just being completely rude. So.
We told plenty of stories about their delay in opening the boxes.
And we let the Oregon faithful know about that, and I think they're pretty good on the timing ever since.
And here comes Chris Campbell through the zone, but just offside. And it looks like Patrick Scarlotta has found a Portland State roster. And Patrick, you're right. How's that for 5'11", 235?
I did not know.
For Josh Powell.
It's a machine right there. Where is number 20? Is he here tonight?
Patrick says on Twitter, I haven't seen vitals like that since the kid that played center on my high school football team. It's good to see that hopefully you're watching too, Patrick. Happy Halloween, Mr. People's Goalie.
The People's Goalie?
The People's Goalie. The legendary People's Goalie.
All right, well.
7-4, 3:35 left on the clock. And here comes Portland State. Pass too far out in front, though, of Austin Martin, and it took him a while to track it down, but Portland State manages to get to the puck. Now the Ducks with it. Joe Hoover with it, and he throws it forward. Hoover also with an A on his chest. How many A's do they got on this Duck team?
I think about 4.
And, I think that's, it's kind of fitting, though. This is a Duck team that they're all really great friends with each other. They get along really well. It's a great group of guys, really good core team. And, unsurprising is Hoover lays a hit out there and then stared his man down, and Hoover jawing with Martin there.
With 2 minutes left in the game, this is what you don't want to happen. Well, penalties are fine at this point in the game. You just don't want suspensions and games off because Utah's next.
And Hoover does appear to be skating to the bench, or the locker room door rather,
which isn't a good sign.
That's not great. Because an ejection is not necessarily a suspension. The referee doesn't have to give a suspension. It may also not be an ejection. If they gave Joe Hoover a 10 with less than 10 minutes left in the game, he can just go to the locker room.
I don't see what. That's the thing now. You can't just make up 10. It has to apply to the call. So
you haven't watched a lot of ACHA hockey, have you? They'll give a 10 when a ref just doesn't want to deal with you anymore. They'll give 10s.
Actually, yeah, I think me and a partner of mine this summer did that in one of the adult league games. Started getting out of control. Started 2 diamond guys.
And with no penalty at all on the board, I'm imagining that's what that is.
But we also have a new clock operator in the building, so there's a bunch of different scenarios.
This is true, although the Ducks are skating 4, so maybe a 5 if nothing's on the board. I guess if it's a major, the clock on it really doesn't matter.
That's true. That's a good point.
We'll have to get a look at the score sheet after the game, and
that was offsides. They just missed it.
You really hope that Joe Hoover's available next week.
Yeah, you can't be down Michael Luke and then Joe Hoover against Utah, so it's going to be hard enough to be down like a player like Michael Luke anyway.
We'll try and find out what they gave to Hoover.
And the injured player for Portland is Portland State's Austin Givens. He's walking off the ice. His day's probably done. Looks to be in a cast, actually. Or not a cast, just a wrap on his arm.
Yeah, it does have some kind of an air cast, maybe. And had to have Patrick Van Boschel open the door for him. It's not a good sign.
No.
Trying to find out from Carissa down there what the call against Joe Hoover was, as I've missed a goal trying to do some reporting. It looks like Trevor Schott's the one celebrating. 8-4 is your score.
I just saw the ref go up to Patrick Taylor and tell him, I think, when he can get out. So, Chris hasn't gotten back to us yet, but
we've got the dots.
I don't think
So it may have been something and a 10 or something and a game.
That's what I'm thinking.
Again, you really just hope it's not something that's going to come with a suspension. We will try to work to find that out for you. If not, we will...
All right, so it's a 2 for slashing and then a 10-minute misconduct. So that depends on the wording. If it's a game misconduct, he's out, obviously, for the rest of this game and then the game after. If it's just a misconduct, he won't miss the next game. So, Carissa just texted us that, but it all depends on the wording. It's huge. If the game part is in front of misconduct, Joe's not going to be there the next game.
And we're going to try and get our scoreboard figured out. It's given me a little bit of issues. But 8-4 is the actual score.
Well, you got 30 seconds left. No pressure or anything.
And some file somewhere is not happy. Gonna just not have a score. Gonna forego a scoreboard for the rest of the night. As it is 8-4, and that's gonna be your final score, barring anything silly. 6 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and call it a hockey game. 8-4 is your final score. Oregon over Portland State in a game that was not without its drama. But Oregon goes down 2-0 early. You felt like they were the better team, though, and they showed that in the second. They followed through in the third. They come through with an 8-4 win. Final thoughts, Colin Catman.
Well, it was just a good game overall for the Ducks. They came out slow, then dominated the rest of the game. Just a good showing. Nice to have this kind of two-set game against Portland State because, Portland State came out and showed them, hey, you can't run all over us. We're going to be competitive. So it's a good little humbling experience for the Ducks, especially when they have Utah next weekend. It's better to. They were on a little rough patch there. They dropped 2 in Boise, so it's good to just get back on the winning side of things. The team looked good overall, and it'll be probably a fun week of practice for the guys, knowing that they got a big set this weekend, and I can't wait for it.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. Yeah.
And it's going to be great. We're going to take a quick break and try and run down and take a look at the score sheet and make sure that it was a 10-minute misconduct and not a game misconduct. If it's just 2 and a 10, Hoover should be fine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have a lot different conversation. So we're going to take a quick break. We'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. My producer tonight is myself. My camera woman is Bella Manning. My color commentator is always Colin Catman. So we're going to take a quick break. If you want to stick around, and we'll put a bow on it in a moment, but we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Well, hello again, everybody. We're just going to put a bow on this here. And we did take a look at the scoreboard, or at the score sheet, rather, and it does just say 10-minute misconduct. So, barring any supplemental discipline, and I don't really think that's going to happen. I mean, it's, it was maybe worthy of a 10. Didn't really get a good look at it myself, but I could see it. I mean, Joe's a fiery guy. It's a chippy game, so, certainly could see a 10-minute misconduct for and the slash there, but really good news in that it's just a 10. Because that means, by all accounts, Joe Hoover's going to be eligible to play next week against Utah, and you saw the difference that it makes for Oregon when the Ducks do not have Joe Hoover.
Joe Hoover, you just need a complete defense. You have plenty of lines of forwards on defense. That's not the case sometimes. We saw a 13-6 game in Washington with virtually no defense. Michael Luke and Joe Hoover come back. Next day, it's 1-1. So defense is huge, especially when your big guys are out, or we don't know if Michael Luke is suspended the next game. That'll be big, regardless of Joe Hoover. If the rest of the defense is there, if Michael Luke isn't there, that's still a huge loss because this is no disrespect to any of the guys, but I don't think anyone on defense can lay down the boom and lay down the hammer like Luke can. So if they're missing that big physical presence on the defensive side, that's big. So
yeah.
It's good to know that Joe Hoover, and there won't be any outside discipline coming in. If it was just a 10, it's logical for him to go off the ice. So that's good news in that regard that he'll be there. But it was a good game overall for the Ducks. Last night we heard it was a game of runs. Not many runs. If there were
big one.
If there was any run, it was by the Ducks. So it was good to see. This. What's positive with this team? Is that they can really just turn it on. It was amazing to see a couple weeks ago when they lost 13-6, and then the next day came out and played a 1-1 game. That's just, you don't see that. You don't see a huge swing in goals like that against the same team after a day. So, I don't have any question that they'll lock it down this week in practice and that they'll refocus for Utah. Portland State, it's logical for them not to, play the same like they would against a Washington or a Utah. But I have every amount of confidence in the guys and for Coach Leahy that they'll all get locked in for this weekend. Good 2 wins here for the Ducks. Get back on the positive side of things because they had a little scuffle there in Boise, but they seem to be rolling. We'll see on Michael Luke. If he's not there, that's huge. If he is there, it'll be good to see the full Ducks team versus hopefully a full Utah team, so we can see what.
Utah's going to travel everyone.
All right, so
Utah don't mess around with that.
It'll be good to see a complete team on both sides compete. It'll be a lot of fun, and I can't wait.
Yeah, and it's a big ask for the Ducks, and it's going to be rough. I mean, there's nothing to say that it's going to be 10-1 the other way. Oregon's not going to get blown out, but if they're not careful, they will. If they come into this game, that Utah game, ready to play, ready to go, they get the fans behind them, they get an early lead, they get a couple of big hits, who knows what's going to happen. If they come into that game and they're not playing confident and they're not playing together and they're not playing as a cohesive unit, Utah's going to pounce on those mistakes. Utah, I talk a lot about them, the stats back me up. Since they have come to the Pac-8, they've been the class of the Pac-8. And, they are the team to beat in this conference, period. That's the end of it. But if Oregon plays their best game, I think they can do it. They've got to play pretty much darn near their best game. But, Howry's great back there in goal. Oregon can fill up the nets. Even when they score, they scored 6 goals in that loss against Washington in the first loss on almost 50% shooting. They can score when they play together as a team. If they play good, fundamental, clean defense, because good hockey teams tend to be really good on the power play. That's kind of one of those truisms. So it's going to be tough for them, but it'll be a big ask for Coach Leahy. He hasn't coached against Utah before, so he's got a week to look at all their video because they've got all their games online also. He's got a week to figure out how he's going to beat them, and he's got a week to teach this Oregon team how to do that. So we will see you again next on November 6th. Until then, happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe out there.